Yo.
What up? What up?
Woo. Let's go. What you doing, man? What's going
on? On the heels of sitting in a room with a bunch of IT people for a few hours. We are here.
How was that without lighting? That must have been interesting. I know you IT guys like to be in the dark.
Yeah. It was the IT men and women. Good dinner. I guess good conversation if you like restaurant tech.
Okay.
But if you don't, you would be bored out of your mind.
That's a very niche.
Yeah, man. Because I like tech, man. But sometimes some of that stuff gets a little old. But it's all right.
It's too complex to be like a broad conversation that's like interesting for somebody outside of like that world, right? Like it's very specific.
And then you have people that are like in that world, and that's like their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like work is life.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have some folks that are like really just into it and excited about it. And then you got guys like me that just go like, it's just work.
It's just I guess I could see like, I guess there's like a certain perspective that some people have where they go like this thing, like if they dedicated their whole life to it, where
right.
maybe they feel like they owe their lives to this thing, like, maybe their lifestyle or whatever. You know what I like I
yeah,
could see
and I
that
think we
for some
all,
people.
right? We all sort of owe our lifestyles, at least partially, to the work that we do.
Yeah.
Whether you work for somebody else or work for yourself or what have you. But man, I don't know, man. I like to do my time and then do something else.
Yeah, like it's not a hobby for you.
Yeah, it's not a hobby. I do like what I do, however.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is nice, I think, to get in a group with, in a room like that occasionally with people and maybe not like-minded, but like, like looking at the same things you look at on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
So sometimes that fresh perspective helps of, or sometimes just feeling like you're not the only one. Is having the same struggles or the stressors or whatever. Yeah,
no, I mean it's a great networking opportunity. I would say that's probably the biggest takeaway from that for me. It's just a networking opportunity. But yeah, sometimes we in those rooms we geek out too much, and even too much for me.
I was wondering why you came in here. I thought it was because you was mourning Harry Belafonte. I was like, why you dressed like Harry, bro?
I had my Sunday clothes on.
It's like, bro, we got the church clothes on. What's going on?
Don't worry, I'm in a short t-shirt now, baby. Let's go.
And we got to do the pod one day and just straight up like suits and ties or something. I don't think I'd make it.
No.
I was like,
we'd be like fucking taking shit off during the pod.
I think I'd make it, man.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Carbon Footprint Podcast. He is Juan and I'm Sean, and every week we get together, have a few drinks, talk about things going on in the world, try to focus on things making an impact, whether they be good, bad, or otherwise. Hit them with the drink of the day.
Woo! Listen, man, this is what you serving this at the dinner, bro. This one's good, man. This is a nice one.
No, they were not.
No. We got a good one this week, man. We can call it a Bonded in Peach, because we're doing this with the Brothers Bond bourbon. It's just phenomenal. It's a really good bourbon, man. And then so we did a shot of the bourbon. I'm trying to figure out maybe 3 ounces, I guess, of the peach juice would be.
Oh, that's good, man. I never measured it. But we did the rocks glass and filled it with ice.
Yeah, so rocks glass filled with ice, a shot of the bourbon. You fill it up, I would say maybe till you're about a finger length from the top of the glass with the peach juice.
Yep.
Maybe and then you top it off with ginger beer, squeeze in or juice a lime wedge into it, stir it up, and then garnish it with a piece of mint. And it's pretty simple, and man, it's nice. I think I chugged down the first one you made
real
me
quick.
like immediately. It was so good. I am a fan of peach too.
Yeah.
Like, so it just, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you was going to like it. And then it was like 3 sips later, you like, yeah, I'm done.
I love peach, man. And I have had like peach smash. Like we were talking before about the peach smash. And I loved bourbon with peach. To me, it's something about it. Just, it feels very Southern and very like Kentucky bourbon-esque. You know what I mean? Like, so I love peach, and then with bourbon, man, even better. So this one's good, man. I like this.
The bitters. That's what we forgot.
Oh, that's right.
A couple
We did
dashes
throw
of the bitters.
orange bitters. We threw in orange bitters in there. Yep, a couple dashes of the orange bitters. So shot of the bourbon, fill it up. I would say about 3 ounces, so maybe 2 shots. I'd say probably a finger length from the top of the glass, or the rocks glass, with peach juice, top off with ginger beer, and then dashes of orange bitters, and then the juice, the lime wedge in there, and then leave it in there, garnish with a piece of mint. It's good, man.
Yeah,
it's
we'll put out that IG. It's not as hard as it. As
I start to get slower explaining. You know what we need to do? We need to record the recipe while we make it initially, not when I'm 7 in. And I'm like, what you put in this?
Yeah, this one was good, man. And I wanted to do a peach bourbon smash, but you need fresh peaches, and peaches are not in season yet.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's a
I just
thing,
assume
bro.
things are available all the time. Yeah, it's a first world problem.
first world
Where I'm just like,
problems.
I just assume. You know what it is I don't know that I ever deliberately go to get a fruit. You know what I mean? Like it's like fruit's one of those things where as I walk by, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take those, and I'll take those, and I'll take that. I think like in peaches are one of those where you see it, you're like, oh yeah, I'll take some peaches.
Yep.
But with the exception of like maybe bananas or something that I deliberately go like, oh, I want to make sure I pick up bananas.
Yep.
But other than that, everything else is like, it's a
If it
purchase
catches
of
your eye.
opportunity. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, let me grab that. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, this one's good, man. And the peach smashes are awesome. So yeah, I love peach.
I don't remember if I've ever had one. I just saw it and I was like, oh, that'll be great. And then when I went to the store, no peaches, and I'm just like, shit.
Do with the puree.
What am I gonna
peach,
do?
Like the chunks.
Really?
Oh,
That's what it is. You're supposed to dice the peach up, use the chunks, and then you muddle
we
the
gotta
chunks.
do it.
We're gonna do
Whenever they come back in the city, we gotta do it.
we'll do
It's
it.
so
We'll do
good,
it,
man.
But this was a good alternative. Play with the recipe a little
great.
bit, and in adding the you can or you don't have to add the bitters, but the bitters takes away a little bit of that sweetness. Just takes away a little bit of it, which I like.
Yeah. So experiment with both, and then the peach juice we got was a Simply Peach, which the Simply juice is always
Can't
hit.
go wrong.
So
man.
yeah,
Those
you can't
things,
go wrong with
You
them.
know, they have the Simply brand has like these alcoholic juice mixer things, man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not just say mixers. They're like you just buy it, crack it open, and it's like this alcoholic beverage with fruit juice.
Oh shit, I didn't even know that. Really? Mm-hmm. Never seen them. Oh wow.
Yes, Simply's expanding the line.
We're gonna have to buy like a case of those one day and do the pod with Simply like.
All right, man. Hit him with the carbon footprint.
It's it, man. I felt like we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but this week, man, I think we should give the carbon footprint to Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis.
We couldn't give it to him last week.
No, but I mean,
just
we didn't even talk about it leading up to it. Which we talked about it off air a lot, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it on the pod. Which, if you're not a boxing fan, this is probably the first fight that attracted casual viewers. That wasn't like a Jake Paul, Logan Paul fight. In a long time, maybe Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, maybe, but I feel like that was
Not
more
that
of
I
a
know of,
boxing
man.
purist,
Yeah.
man. This was truly like the first fight where I felt like a lot people were invested. The casual, it's like, like the pay-per-view draw in boxing is kind of gone. Like before, Floyd Mayweather drew everybody, or Manny Pacquiao would just draw everybody. You
Yeah, or like the De La Hoya.
De La Hoya, yeah.
Right? Mike Tyson, if you go before that, the Holyfield.
Yeah, Trinidad when he had his run for a while.
Right.
Trinidad was like must watch. I mean, especially like in the Puerto Rican community. Like you
absolutely.
didn't miss a pay-per-view. And I felt like this is the first fight in a long time. And it was just cool to see. I think for one, it was cool to see two boxers entering their prime, one in their prime, and Gervonta. I think Ryan is sort of like getting into his prime.
He's still ascending.
He's still like ascending, right? So like it was good to see two guys do that, not worry about risking the L. Like boxing has become so like everyone's worried about taking that loss.
Right.
And in some ways I think maybe for Ryan Garcia less or so because he is so young that he could have the Canelo sort of rise where this changes him and he just goes on this run and it's so early that you forget. But I do think it's still risky, right? Like it's still there's a risk of a knockout for either one. There's a risk of there's a maybe you become not as marketable. But I think it just proves like we don't care about the loss.
The fans don't care. Bro.
We don't care at all, man. Like I think we risk the reward. Like we reward the risk. Sorry, yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned the Canelo. So when Canelo lost to Mayweather, he only got better.
Yeah.
And typically what I've seen in boxing over the years, or at least as long as I've been watching, is like when a lot of times when guys take losses, it's like their career just tanks for some reason. I don't know why that is.
The mental, man.
I think it's the mental. Yeah. But with this or with Canelo, we saw him lose early in his career and then freaking learn from it because you see his boxing style changed after that.
Yeah,
and it's
completely.
progressively got better, right? His
He used to be willing to
defense-
trade punches and
Right.
get hit a lot and all that.
and
he said
now his
defense got-
defense is insane, man.
Yeah.
And obviously he rose to the stardom that he did. So I hope the same for Ryan Garcia. But to your point of kind of like drawing the masses, this is the first sort of like true boxing match that my teenage boys were interested in watching. Prior to
Yeah.
this, it was like, if it was like Jake or, if it was the Paul brothers, then they're interested, or they see what was the other guy? Is it KSI?
KSI, yeah.
Right? Like they want to see
YouTubers.
that.
They-
Yeah,
they
they
wanna
want to
watch
see
the
the
YouTubers.
YouTubers. But this is like the first boxing match that they actually wanted to watch. And it's really because of Ryan Garcia and his social media presence.
Yeah, dude. And I think it's Ryan Garcia. And then when I was talking to your boys, it shocked me that they were picking Tank to win initially. And then I go, oh, that's the Tank. That's the highlight reel on YouTube and on Instagram and on
Right.
TikTok where, Tank's knockouts are like brutal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I could see that being viral.
Right.
And like you said,
where
Ryan Garcia's.
the viral clips for Ryan Garcia are the, hey, stand there, let me punch you.
Yes, the wearing the body
Right,
thing.
wearing
and
the body
people are
thing,
dropping. Yep. Yeah, the Ryan Garcia is absolutely a social media superstar and probably more popular from that than he was from boxing.
Right.
To people outside of boxing. Anyway,
Correct.
Right? Like we were boxing fans, so we knew who he was, but your boys knew that he was the guy that was punching dudes like that and wearing that,
Yep.
and then maybe hadn't seen him fight as much.
Yeah.
But it was cool, man. Like I said, I'm like, yo, it takes one. It was cool to see that. I think the other part that I really enjoyed about this too was I think no matter what you do in life, it was just the fighting is one thing, man. I think anybody who gets in a ring to do the whole boxing or the UFC thing, like it. I don't think it's an over exaggeration where you go, man, you risk a little bit of your life, but also a little bit of yourself every time you do that, man. Those punches to the head and all that shit. It's a rough way to make a living. But I think it's just also just a lesson in taking risks and setting out to do stuff to sort of either improve or prove that you're the best or, whatever that is. I mean, I feel like just striving for that level of, the winner of this was very much, I think, going to be seen as the face of boxing or the new face of boxing.
Oh, yeah.
And, like if Ryan Garcia wins this, it propels him into superstardom like no other because he said he's already a social media superstar, and then now he gets this like massive win that he wasn't expecting to get. And then for Gervonta, I think it just solidifies.
Or at least we weren't really expecting
right,
him to get it,
right.
right?
No,
But
yeah, right. Yeah.
hopefully he was expecting the win.
I would hope so.
Right.
But then for Gervonta, we always knew, like, man, that guy's a beast. Like, we need to see him fight some competition, which is the beef with everyone in boxing, right? It's always like, Terence Crawford, awesome. We need to see him fight someone, who's great. And
Right.
I think this is the first time where for Gervonta, it was like fighting a bigger guy, a guy who was undefeated, who was a star, and getting to see him do that. Who maybe from a skill level, watching that, you go, yeah, Gervonta is just way better. Like just boxing.
Oh yeah, the boxing IQ, bro, was
God.
definitely apparent.
The age too. Like you just go, man. I think leading up to the fight, man, I kind of got sucked into the size difference. And the fact that they kept asking, that they had the whole rehydration clause and all that. And then what I realized was that the boxing IQ that Gervonta Davis has, that 4 or 5 year sort of like head start on him, it matters, man.
Oh, yeah.
It matters so much, and especially because you could see it when I went back and I was watching a lot of the highlights. You can see that eagerness or that excitement where the impatientness from Ryan Garcia, where he lands a punch or two and he's like, oh shit, I got him, and he wails,
Yeah.
and then Gervonta just sits on it and just gets him, and you go, man, what a composed, like, in that flurry of punches, he's just so, and I'm like, that comes with experience, man. And
Yeah.
I think I grossly underestimated that.
And in round 2, when Ryan Garcia does get knocked down, prior to that, you're watching him and it looks like, oh shit, like he's not scared.
No, you're like, I mean, you go,
Don't get caught.
Don't get caught,
That's
man.
right.
Yeah, you're like, this is gonna, like, oh shit. I wasn't expecting Ryan Garcia to come out that aggressive and,
No,
be
me
sort
neither,
of the
man.
one to bring the fight, because I thought he'd be the more cautious fighter. Because I'm like, I don't care how much bigger you are, fucking Davis looks like he hits hard, man.
Yeah.
Like it looks violent, and so.
And he was willing to
expecting
come
that.
inside.
Yeah, and that surprised me. So again, like the whole thing about it, man, I'm like, yo, credit to Ryan Garcia for not doing the whole running around and trying to live off the jab for 12 rounds, like willing to exchange blows. Because I go, yo, listen, he got dropped in that second, he got right back up, it didn't seem to hurt him
Yep.
You know, just seemed to get caught right time. You know, obviously got hurt on the knockout in the 7th. But I think just, again, having just the guts to go in there for both of these guys in a time where boxing never gives you the fight you want to see. Like, it took forever to get Floyd and Pacquiao, and by then we didn't really want it anymore.
Right.
You know, maybe we get Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford this year.
Crawford,
but
yeah.
I feel like this helps make that, hopefully, because in a year from now, I don't want to see that. Maybe even 2, I don't want to see it anymore. Like, those guys are already sort of like on the down. I feel like they've already reached the top.
You think they are?
I think they are, because if you look at their age, I think these guys are already early 30s.
Okay.
And then
So you figure by 35, although guys are fighting longer.
No, for sure, but I also think they're inactive, and then they're not like, I just don't feel like they're at the peak of their athletic and of the what could have been superstardom. If these guys do this 4 years ago, it potentially turns into what I think Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis did for themselves, because I do think in this both of them become significantly more marketable in the boxing world too.
Oh, absolutely.
And now they've transcended that, like, oh, is it must watch? You know, like, now they can no longer go back to fighting tomato cans. Like, they got to go and fight
Right.
big
You gotta
names
fight
now.
big names.
Yeah, like, now I'm seeing Shakur Stevenson is like, yo, obviously he's the A side.
Dude,
Like,
that's
he gets
the guy,
to
bro.
decide. And Shakur Stevenson is like, yo, I'm ready now. But obviously it's not up to me. It's going to be up to him because he gets to decide because he's a champ.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, I'm going to watch that. Like, and so now, yeah.
Shakur Stevenson is phenomenal,
he's amazing.
bro.
But you go, but that fight would have never happened 3 or 4 years ago, you know, with these two guys. But I think this opens up this floodgate where you're going to have to go start looking at boxers and going, dude, like, you know, Garcia took that chance, Davis took that chance, like, you know, so I hope it does that for the sport. I hope that, you know, like, your kids, man, being into it, like, it was so fun to watch it with them, and then I'm hoping that it's like, oh man, here's the next generation, you know, like, was that the thing that they'll remember that turns them into, like, buying a pay-per-view when they're our age, you know, inviting their buddies over or whatever it is, you know, like,
it'll pay-per-view will be about $150 by then. Man, the prices have gone up, bro.
Crazy, bro. Listen, I'm that old guy now who'll be like, back in my day, $49.99.
And we was complaining back then.
Everybody put some on. Everybody bring $5. You was making people bring $5 to watch.
Back in, you would pay at the door, bitch. Dude, and you know what I really loved about this, man, was that both guys talked so much shit leading up to the fight.
Great.
And it was great. I love it. It
was great.
I wanna hear all the smack.
And that sold the fight so much, and it's part of the theatrics that boxing has like why I love it so much.
I agree.
Right? Yeah.
And it even transcended to you know, like to the weigh-in and to like all of that stuff and the weigh-in. So they're in Vegas. The weigh-in. Do you see the crowd for the weigh-in?
Oh my god, dude! When was the last time you saw
insane.
that?
And they were like outside.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. So you know, I think that everything that those two guys did, you know, brought the crowds in, and I think the fight lived up to, at least it was a good fight. It's definitely worth watching. And after the second round, when Ryan Garcia gets knocked down, I felt, and even my kids were telling me the same thing, we all felt like, oh shit, this could end on one punch. These guys are throwing hard.
Yeah, dude, there was a tension, I think, between all of us where like no one even got up in between
don't
rounds
get up. Right.
to go get a drink. Like, we were like, don't go to the bathroom. There was
Right.
like a tension where every punch we were like,
yes.
I can't remember the last time I watched a fight that was that tense where you felt like any punch
UFC.
could. Yeah, that's it.
UFC, that's it.
Yeah,
not
that's
not
it.
a boxing fight, bro.
No,
and
UFC.
It haven't. So I haven't seen that. So that was, and it was one of my sons was falling asleep in like round one because it was, you know, obviously started at 11, so it was kind of late for him. But in round two, when Ryan Garcia gets knocked down, which he popped right back up. To his credit, even he sits up and he goes like, "Oh, holy crap!
Like, fuck, I got
this
caught.
this is going to." No, I'm saying my son.
Oh.
My son pops up like in his chair and goes, "Oh crap, man! Like, I cannot fall asleep. Like this could end any moment." So it's really cool to see that. But also after the fight, to see both these guys like kind of hug it out. They took mad pictures. Ryan Garcia was really humble.
Yeah.
Right. He was like, he didn't make any excuses.
Yeah, I love
like,
the stance he took. Talked all that shit and then was like, "You got me."
He got me.
Yeah.
Right. And said, "Yo, I look forward to building myself up again so we can run this back."
Yeah, like he wasn't like, "Give me an immediate rematch."
Exactly.
He was like, "I'm gonna build up again. I'm gonna earn it again."
Exactly.
Which I thought was like you said, was very humble of him. And he did say he wanted to go up in weight. He's like maybe 140, 147. He says he's fighting at 140 now, but he goes maybe we'll meet again at 147 or 140. Which I go okay, that makes sense. He wants to move up and not have to cut, and maybe not have that whole rehydration thing be an issue, but. Like you said, I love the fact that he sort of owned it, that they talked all that shit, and afterwards, and I like that he admittedly was like, man, you know what it is, dude. We got to sell the fight. It's all love at the end of the day. Like, I respect you as a fighter, but you know, it's war. You know, we're going into it. You got to build, and maybe even as a fighter, you got to build hate for a guy. Maybe, like, you don't know these guys, right? Maybe you don't actually hate them,
and you want to psych yourself up.
Yeah, right.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. You need to hype yourself
like,
up, and you go like, not only did I sell tickets, I gotta kind of hate this guy myself,
right?
And someone who I'd never met probably and hung out with or whatever. Like, I gotta psych myself up to go. I need a reason to dislike.
Yeah, I want to go destroy this guy.
Yeah. So
we're gonna hug it out afterwards, but I want to destroy you first.
And I love that because hard to imagine, but I love me talking. You know, like to talk some shit.
No,
like, I love people talking shit. I know it wouldn't seem like it.
Well, shit, man. To switch gears a little bit here, your boy Dylan Brooks, Memphis Grizzlies, they won today.
Yeah,
and I did not see the aftermath of like interviews and stuff, but there's a guy that was talking shit, and then LeBron came out, and remember he talked about like back in the day when he was dropped 40 or whatever the quote was, and then LeBron came out and dropped 20 points or 22 points and 20
rebounds on his ass. I'm gonna look to see if he did the press conference, bro,
and
I'm gonna be pissed.
And then he came out. Oh no, then he didn't want to be interviewed. He declined to be interviewed for the next 2 games, which were losses for them. And I was just like, in contrast to what we just talked about in boxing, here you are in basketball, running your mouth, talking shit, which I love, man. Do all of that.
Yeah.
I want to hear it, but then don't bitch out when you. If you talk shit and then the guy you talking shit about comes in and dominates, then come to the mic.
Yeah, dude.
I want to hear what you got to say, bro.
I love the shit talking, especially in NBA playoffs, because I want that. I love that animosity. I love that. I got into basketball in an era that was, like dudes hated each other for real, and it did all that. And so to like. For Dylan Brooks, I'm like, he makes me hate him because he played that villain role so well. But then I lost all this respect for him when I'm like, oh, that's some real bitch assness where you lose the games. You talk all that shit about LeBron, he goes off on you, and then suddenly you have no media availability. 2 games in a row. It's just like I might be okay with one game where I'm like, okay, the emotions got the best of you. I get it. It's NBA playoffs. But 2 games in a row.
Because he did get ejected that game too, right?
He got ejected. So I'm like, that's some real bitch assness, bro. Like, you got to stand by what you said. Like, go up in there and be like, yeah, man, fuck him. He got me. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
or be like,
double down on that shit. I don't
maybe
care.
he ain't as old as I thought he was.
Yeah, right, yeah. Dude, I wouldn't even mind it if he went up there and be like, oh, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. I just kept talking shit. Like, I don't even care. But, like, don't run away. I think that the problem I had with is, like, the running away. Because going back to, like, like your boys watching these guys, I think, talk shit, do all that stuff. I think it's a they're not realizing it in the moment, but I think subconsciously there's a lesson there of like, yo, it's okay to then afterwards be like, yeah, man, fuck, I got caught. Like to just like as a man, just be like, yo, man, let's talk about shit. Like, it kind of is what it is. You got me, bro. Kudos to you. Like I would have respected Dylan Brooks if he would have just been like, yeah, like you said, fuck, man, he still got it at 39 or whatever.
Yep.
Like just
either,
stand by it, bro.
Either way, he would have went.
Yep.
If he went in there and said and kind of sarcastically said like, you won't have too many more of those, or give respect, I would have been fine with either one. But the fact that you ran away and you're like, I'm not available. That now I don't even when I see him on the court, I don't care.
Dude, I don't even care. And I actually think the Grizzlies get rid of him after this year too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think, dude, it's tough to.
Has he been like a liability for them? I don't know.
Yeah, he's just not. I don't think he's worth the like. If you look at his stats, I'm like, oh, you're not worth the attention you're getting. I think.
Oh my God!
Problem.
Did you see in the game that they played? I think it was the game after he talked shit. At the Lakers Stadium, so it's Staples Center, right? At the Staples Center?
No, it's not called that anymore.
It's not?
No, it
what is it now?
I think it's crypto.com
Center
or arena or some shit like that. Yeah.
I thought crypto was where like the Rams play. No?
That's SoFi.
SoFi. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
All right. Either way, at the Lakers Stadium, whatever the shit's called, they put up the stats and it was like LeBron, Dylan
on the
Brooks.
Jumbotron?
On the Jumbotron. And it was like,
no.
like Dylan Brooks has like 5,000 points, and then this guy's like leading scorer of all time. Right? And it was like number of playoff appearances, number of championships, number of like all-star appearances, like that shit. They just put the whole stat line down there. No. And it's like, obviously, there's not many guys that can stack up to LeBron's resume. And he's definitely not even in the realm. The guy's like a baby in the league.
No. Dude, that's the best trolling job ever.
Like,
see,
we'll get him.
I love that shit. And then if he goes off on you, be like, fuck, like still talk shit. Like go after. Like I love that, man. It was so disappointing to me, and it just makes him unlikable now because I go, bro, like Draymond. Draymond's a perfect. Draymond talks all this shit.
Dude,
he's an antagonizer. He doesn't give a damn, but he stands by it, and either one. Yeah.
He gets ejected, and he's still on the same shit.
And he still talks shit, and he's still in the same shit. I gotta respect it. You can be wrong. Just stand, like, I'm like, dude, stand 10 toes on the shit you were, and I'm like, I'll respect it, bro. I may not like it.
Yeah.
I may not like you, but I'll respect the fact that you're willing to stand by your shit. And fucking Dylan Brooks, man, I'm like, man. Like, the fact that we've been talking about him, no one would know who he is without the shit talking, I think is what irks me the most. So then the fact that you run away from the shit talking just agitates me.
Yeah,
like,
no, I hear you. Dude, is Draymond Green, is he the modern day Rodman?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think
Right?
he's the closest thing that we have to that. Yeah. Minus the off-court antics, but like,
yes,
yeah.
He's like Rodman but polished.
Yeah. Rodman with media training.
But you know what, man? Could those guys get away with this shit because of social media now?
No, absolutely not. No.
Back then,
dude, I think we'd hate Michael Jordan if he was in the social media era.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was an asshole. Like, he really was. Like, Michael Jordan was an asshole. Tiger Woods is an asshole. Like,
is that right?
Dude, I think, Tiger Woods is not a likable guy. Like, when you see him interview and see him talk, I think if the shit with Tiger Woods would have happened closer to this era that we're in social media now, like, the whole shit with Tiger, it's probably been a decade now that whole shit played out, right? Like, the Escalade thing, and then the whole Perkins, like, he was still the brunt of jokes for a long time.
What's the Escalade thing?
Remember, he crashed the Escalade, and his wife beat the shit out of it with a golf club. And that's how that whole shit came to light.
When they got a divorce.
When they got the divorce.
When he's like, oh, I'm with all these hookers. And
yeah,
whatever,
and then it basically started unwinding after that. I'm like, if that happened today, like, it would, like, he'd be canceled. Like, it'd be that part of that whole thing. Michael Jordan, bro, was punching teammates, was gambling the day of games. He's out there smoking cigars, doing, like, he wouldn't have survived this era, man.
But the guy performs.
Yeah, I don't think people today care, though, in the sense of, like,
even sports fans, bro.
I think sports fans would have embraced him.
And
I think it's hard.
And if he's on your team.
Absolutely.
Like, we're very forgiving.
But I think it's hard to market a guy like that, right? Like, he's become
so maybe Nike doesn't
right.
Right.
Yeah, like I think sports fans like him. Other sports fans hate him more, who already hated him, right? Because if you're not a fan of the Bulls. But I think it becomes hard to market the guy who was out smoking in Atlantic City till 4 a.m. and then played, at 8 p.m. that night.
Yeah.
And, like,
that makes sense.
I think the pictures online would have just been, look at Michael Jordan at a blackjack table. Da, da, da. And then the minute he had one bad game, it would have wiped out all the good ones. Yeah, like, so, and I think the whole, like, punching teammates, the whole, like, he always stayed at different hotels than he did, which I don't think he was the only guy, but I do think there was enough shit to hate. Dude, can you imagine if LeBron James left the Miami Heat or the Cleveland Cavaliers to go play baseball for 2 years and then come back? What we would say about LeBron? We'd be like, he's a fucking quitter. He's, like what a punk. He gave up his team. Like, Michael Jordan got away with disappearing from baseball at the height of his career. Where you go, he could have won, 4, 5, 6 championships maybe in a row, maybe 7, 8, whatever. We're never going to know. Right. But you go, he left at the peak of that. That would have, in the social media era, bro, we would have just been ripping him for, like, he's weak. He gives up on his teammates. I think we would have hated him in that, and I don't think those guys would. You can mention Charles Barkley, MJ, Rodman. None of those guys would have survived the social media era, man. Like, it would have just been.
Yeah, it would have been different.
Oh my god! Because it not even they could stay off, but everyone around them would have just been recording everything they did, and it would have just been
yeah, like the Draymond punch. Who did he punch in practice? What that was his name?
Teammate. Jordan Poole. Was it Jordan Poole?
It was Jordan Poole. Like, that never gets out in the 90s, or just to say pre-internet, pre-social media. That never gets out.
No, dude, and the level of fame that MJ was, it was like
Oh, that's like
fucking
Beatles.
Beatle. Yeah, he's
Beatles
like
level,
Michael
bro.
Jackson. Like it was just like so absurd. So in this era, that's why I give even LeBron, dude. Like you see LeBron on social media, like people recording, they'll see him somewhere, they'll whatever. But the fact that there isn't a recording of LeBron doing something wild, it's crazy to me. Because John Morant, right? Like we see John Morant didn't last 3 years in the NBA without some wild shit coming out in this era. Like you know,
And
him
shit,
going
two things
online
in the last year.
Yeah. So you go, can you imagine like the guys that manage to stay out of it in this era? I'm always like, you know, good for you, bro. You know who? A, that means your circle's good, and B, you're smart enough to stay away from some of those scenarios. But no, dude, Jordan would have been hated today, I think, if he played in this era because he's like even his disposition, like Jordan isn't friendly, right? Like he's kind of a bully. Like in the grand scheme of things, like he's a bully. So I think people would have hated him today, man. Like
Yeah, you could be right, man.
yeah, I don't know, but yeah, man, I love.
Speaking
this
of
shit.
hated people, talk to me about Tucker Carlson.
Yo,
Actually,
sucker, bro.
Dude, not for nothing, man. That dude. So Tucker Carlson, for those of you who don't know, he's I guess I don't even want. He's not really a news guy. He's sort of like a he's
personality.
like a
Call him a news personality,
Yeah, news personality,
political
I guess.
personality, or pundit.
Has his own show on, or had his own show on
Yeah,
Fox
not
News.
anymore.
Sorry. So last week we talked about what's the company that
Fox News.
is it
Oh, Dominion. Yeah, Dominion.
Right, the makers of a lot of these voting machines. There was a lawsuit against Fox News or Fox in general. They settled, and then on the heels of that, they settled out. Dominion ended up getting like 700 million or some shit like that.
Yeah, almost 8. It's like
Yeah, it was
760
crazy.
something, 770. Yeah.
And so on the heels of that, Tucker Carlson does his show on Friday, and at the end of the show is like, see you guys on Monday, and Monday never comes.
No, you won't. Yeah.
So they let him go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously it's, you feel like it's connected. I didn't read anything else on it. Did you?
So they have said it was connected
They did?
to an extent.
Okay.
Now, what I don't know is it connected in a sense of, was it part of the settlement? Like, did Dominion go like, I want this money and you got to get rid of this guy? But
wouldn't that come out, or maybe not?
No, because if the terms
it's
of the settlement are, you could have them private. You know,
Keep it
like
hush.
I think the amount, it's even like it's reported to be blah blah because somebody will talk.
Right.
But I actually think so. Dude, one of the things that in this case that they did subpoena, that they wound up getting his text messages within personalities, especially Tucker Carlson, because he was one of the big ones sort of pushing this narrative
Right.
that the election was stolen, yada yada, right? They were using his text messages to prove that he knew it was bullshit. And so this is why they're like, no, you guys knew it and you were saying it. You didn't have a basis for it. You knew it was a lie. And he wasn't the only one. There was a bunch of people within Fox News that had these text messages that were damaging, which is obviously why they had to settle, because there was so much evidence that was damaging. But dude, in those text messages, man, and I went through and just read a few of them, I think more than anything, I think this is Fox News covering two bases. I think one, it's the, he was one of the big people spreading this misinformation. We got to do that. I think more, I think what more played into it was the text messages proved that Tucker Carlson doesn't believe the shit that he's spewing. So the text messages that Tucker Carlson is sending is like, I can't fucking wait till we don't have to talk about this guy anymore. Like, this is bullshit. There's nothing to prove that this election was stolen. Da, 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 da. There's all this shit that goes completely against
it.
all the stuff that he always talks about.
Bro.
So how do you put this guy back on air? Now, listen, most people might not go through and read that.
So then from that is Tucker Carlson being persuaded or being made to talk about that stuff?
I think Tucker Carlson plays a character, like,
right,
in the same sense that Bill O'Reilly and I don't even know that he's made. I think it's Tucker Carlson going, okay, if I want to make money doing it, so I want to have a personality, like I gotta sort of like pick a side and like play villain.
Yeah.
And so because we all know, like, just be interesting. Or people gotta hate you or love you, but they gotta feel a certain type of way. They can't be neutral.
Yes.
So I think it's Tucker Carlson's way of just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna say wild shit.
Because not for nothing, man. Like, I don't necessarily like him, but I've watched his show.
No, same. And I've always thought that he was full of shit.
I just want to see what what's what?
Yeah, what's what?
What's the opinion?
And
what's the
he's
other opinion?
always one of those guys where I went, there's no way that he believes the shit that he's saying, because it's so outlandish that you're like sometimes he's so off base that you go, there's no way that you really believe this. And essentially the text messages prove it. Like, there's all these text messages that like basically hates, like literally says in the messages, I can't stand this man. I can't wait till he's no longer in office. We're getting so close. After he's voted out, can't wait to the day where we don't have to spend a minute talking about this guy anymore. All this shit between him and people within Fox and all this stuff. So it's like, not only did it prove that, you knew, because in the text messages he goes, there's absolutely nothing to prove this. And he's talking about another personality that brings it up. I don't know why the fuck, this became a thing. Like, there's absolutely no evidence to prove that this is the case, yada, yada. But then he goes on air. And
yeah, but then why? So then that just begs the question of, then why spew it? Is like I'm saying, like, again, you said he plays a character, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. But is it him upholding the character, or is the network going, no, bro, you have to uphold this character, and this character believes X, Y, and Z. So that's what you will talk about.
Maybe. Maybe, and I feel like that'll be in that tell-all book that he'll drop later.
I'm buying it.
Yeah, maybe. But he is a person, like you said, like, no matter how you felt, you tune in and watch.
Dude, I think he is
he's the number one.
Number one.
He is. Yeah.
Like, and I don't know what category, but it's like news personality, because it's not necessarily news. It's more opinion.
Yeah. He has the number one political show, I think, or had the number one political show. And it's interesting enough, dude. He used to work for CNN. He had a show on CNN called Crossfire back in the day.
That was him?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
It was the host of Crossfire.
Oh, I didn't know.
So this was like early 2000s, man. Like, I think I was graduating from high school when he was like doing this show Crossfire back in the day.
Yo, people, not for nothing. I know for those of you watching the YouTube and you see us doing refills, this shit hits by itself.
It's so good.
Just
the peach juice and the bourbon. Yeah, I've been doing that since we started.
I don't know why I didn't try that in the beginning.
I should have brought a thing of ice in here, man. This is great. Oh my god. But yeah, dude. So I think it's very much so response to like the carbon footprint stuff we were talking about last week. I think news networks are starting to go, man, how do you, if this is a character that they created, how do you go about this now moving forward? Because now you have to be real careful about this. And then, like a lot of people won't go and read the things of this lawsuit. They won't dig that deep into it. But if you see that and you're a Tucker Carlson fan, like now I'm going, how do you even go? If you're him, you'll definitely go off on your own. Somebody's going to give you a job. You'll get a YouTube show, whatever you end up doing. But now how do people who followed you, who see the text message that you sent before go, how do you trust that now? Like, how do you, and maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe he's just like, I was, doing it for the team, for the right side or whatever, like, and people just go with it. Like, yeah, you got to stand up for our guy. But, he's literally going, dude, there's so many there's hundreds and hundreds of text messages, and they're all literally the total opposite of the guy he is on Twitter.
Oh, wow.
So, wow. And to me, I think if you're Fox, that's a bigger problem in the grand scheme of business, right? Like, it stings to pay that fine. You want to say face, maybe it was part of the settlement, but more importantly, I think you go, how do we put this guy back on the air to do this show where now there's all this public information that he doesn't really believe the shit that he's saying? Like, the character's dead. Right. You got to create a new one.
Right.
You got to create a new character, right? Like, and someone will pop in.
Oh, you'll bring somebody
Don Lemon will end up at Fox.
He got fired too, right?
Everybody got fired this week, bro. And I think Don Lemon is absolutely connected in some way, shape, or form to that whole Fox News thing and all that shit. Like,
what do you mean?
Well, because he's been saying some wild shit on the news lately. And then I think mainly he had this exchange with an Indian American, I think last week too. It might have been a native. I don't quote me on that, but it was either a Native American or Indian American. But anyway, he got into like a heated debate in there.
Those are two.
I
totally
know,
different.
so that's why it says either or. I just can't remember what he used, but he basically tells the guy, "Whatever you are." Blah blah blah.
Oh, okay.
and it wasn't like meant to be racist.
That's like a you people.
Yeah, but it was like meant to be. He was acting like he was offended by the guy. Was basically going on this narrative about how black people feel or don't feel or something, and he was basically like, "How the fuck are you gonna tell me like you've never been a black guy, like kind of thing, like whatever you are?"
Oh,
so he's like, I think he was like, "How could you stand there as, and he didn't know." He's like, as whatever you are,
Oh.
and tell me like.
Yeah, that's not.
it ain't gonna bother me. But I get it. But it's like,
But I'm not really.
That's probably a
I'm not really
conversation.
bothered by much of this shit.
Me
I'm
neither.
not bothered by Tucker Carlson either, man.
But if
Like,
I run
that's-
that show, I'm probably pulling Don Lemon in and going, bro, like just at least know what he is and just the flippant whatever you are. Like I'm like, I think that's that's
you
one
know what?
conversation.
Maybe you go instead of that, right? Maybe you say, "What are you?" Like, what nationality are you?
Yeah, like sorry, what are you? But okay,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not gonna let
Then I'm
you
gonna-
as right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. So like, so I think this is the direct response to that shit is like, okay, how do we? And maybe they wanted to get rid of. I think he's been in hot water lately anyway because he be saying wild shit about women. He be saying wild shit about and race. He be saying. I think it was just like fuck it, let's clean house too with him because with this whole Tucker Carlson, let's just like take advantage of the scenario, the situation. I guess
At some point, man, I would imagine that you get so comfortable in your role, and if your role is talking, I mean, even on here, right? Like you and I say wild shit, but you know. I'm also not afraid to back off on it and go like, you know what? I said that and that was kind of fucked up. You know, I'm sorry. But I can't imagine being on like network television on a daily basis. Some of these shows are daily.
They're daily.
Right?
Yeah.
Every dude, you're gonna say wild shit, man. You're gonna say things that are on your mind. You know, like there has to be some like, don't do it live. You know, like you mentioned, what's the guy you met? O'Reilly.
But
do it live. No, bitch, don't do it live.
O'Reilly was a wild boy, man. He never recovered, bro, from the whole Me Too shit, right? He got ousted and never came back. I thought for sure he'd pop up. I mean, I think he did something small after that, like some online shit, but it never really like took off. Like
not that I know. I think he just went off into obscurity.
There was another Tucker, right? He was Tucker before Tucker.
Yes. So there was another. Somebody else did pick him up, but it was some like obscure network,
like OAN or whatever the fuck.
Was, yes, it was one of those.
Okay. Yeah, man. I think you just got to build a new character, throw them out there, and roll them out for the soap opera or whatever, or the political outrage weekly show. Dude, that's got to be interesting to do that. Like play like if you're Tucker Carlson, like your whole persona on TV is that, and if you don't really like in your personal life, that's not who you are. First off, if you know him. Suck. Yeah, that's
don't you become
stressful?
I think so. At some point, I would think that you at least become some of that.
Oh, absolutely, dude. I've heard this, and I don't know how true this is, but I've heard this about Kobe Covington, the UFC guy. Remember, he went the whole MAGA route and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he comes off like an asshole, like the worst person ever. I've heard a lot of stories about people. I think through like Joe Rogan's podcast and all that. Going, he's the nicest guy. They're like, he's playing a character.
But didn't Masvidal say that he's like really like he really hates him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They hate each other. They used to be best friends. And now they're hate each other. Yeah. But he's like, I think Masvidal came out and said that he really hates Trump or something like that, right? Like that he.
Oh no, I didn't say that.
I think he saw like, but I think he called him out saying like he was a fake, like MAGA whatever. Yeah, because Masvidal's super into the MAGA thing. But anyway, like. Kobe Covington is very hated, like his character for UFC, but he was like, no, he did that because once he embraced that and took on that personality, he started selling fights and he started doing it. And it was like, yo, he's too into it. So he stands by it. But they're like, you talk to this guy off camera, whatever. He's like the nicest guy ever. He doesn't spew all this other stuff. He's cutting all these promos of like half naked women. So they're like, that's not who he is, man. He like hires people to like, like the women. He'll hire them to do that. And then he's off to, do whatever he is.
Dude, so I'm actually glad you brought that up because didn't recently WWE bought UFC, right?
Yeah.
So now, does that kind of stuff play out more, right? Do you bring because
the writers from the
WWE?
Do you
bring the heel kind of stuff to the UFC side and kind of almost make like, hey, you're gonna be it's real fighting, but almost like characters.
You got to be
like
his character.
Like was it Cowboy? Was it Cerrone?
Yeah,
right. Like you could take that and actually do like a bigger character. Not so much the. Maybe you don't take it to the level of a WWE, but that's the kind of shit that we look forward to on WWE, right? It's like it's the persona. We don't really care about the fights so much, although there's been some phenomenal fights over the years.
Yeah.
It's the personas that really like capture us.
Yeah.
All the shit talking before the fights and after the fights.
Yeah,
So
I think the UFC, the thing I respect is like linking that to like the boxing thing. It's like I reward the risk. Like these guys there isn't someone in the UFC that's undefeated that I can think of off the top of my head right now where you're like, I wonder if this guy's gonna lose. I never think about that. I always think about like, oh, is this the time he's finally gonna lose? It's always the shit talking, the persona of the thing, and it's like, yo, is this guy gonna get dropped? Is he gonna get choked out? Is he gonna, like that stuff? And you go, it's possible for everyone at any given time.
Yeah.
So and I think that's what the UFC has done so well.
But
So
think
you
about the
add
big
these
names,
characters.
bro. Yeah, think about it. Look at McGregor. McGregor was, dude, he could be a WWE guy.
Oh my God, dude! I wonder. To your point, does this give people a transition out of UFC into something? I guess
If they
presumably
really want to fight.
Yeah, and maybe takes less toll on your body. I know that sounds crazy, but like go to WWE for a couple years post retirement, you get to play the soap opera, do that whole thing, maybe wrestle. Okay, because dude, somebody like McGregor, you go, oh, you can only do you don't have to do pay-per-views or wrestle once every 3 or 4 months and just build up. Like you could show up every week and just talk shit and then wrestle once every 6 months or whatever it is. Like, and people would tune in.
Or you don't even wrestle. You'd be like a manager.
You just be right. You be that Paul Bearer or the what's the other guy who Paul
I know you're talking about.
who he's always out there talking shit and doing whatever. Like I go, man,
The Undertaker's, right?
hey, Paul Heyman.
Heyman. That's the one.
Yeah. So it's like you could do that. It's actually a kind of a genius partnership, man. That those two companies, and you go, man, you could seamlessly transition between the two.
Yep.
And then because Ronda Rousey, right, wound up WWE and all that, and yeah, man, that would be awesome. And then you create these characters, dude. Because to your point, Conor McGregor was the biggest star in the world because of he was the rare combination of shit talking, charismatic, theatrical,
Right.
and could back it up.
Could fight.
And
could fight.
could actually fight, right? Like we need the theatrics.
Then
bro.
he made too much money.
Yeah. It's fucking hard to wake up motivated, bro, when you're in silk sheets and a $100 million yacht, bro. It really is, dude. That's why, dude. Whenever that guy is like, I still want to fight. I'm like, why? Dude, even we talk about this all the time. When Tom Brady gets up motivated, I'm like, why? Like you want to go do fucking burpees or whatever you're doing over there? Like, why? Like, shit, go enjoy life, man.
Dude, let me switch gears on you, man. Have you heard this shit with Designer? So, I think you
You
have.
gotta talk about pandas, are you?
So for those of you who have not heard Designer, and I guess he only had that one song that he had more songs than that. Sorry.
Yeah, the Timmy Turner, but
the big one,
Panda
the big one was Panda,
big one.
right?
Yeah,
Panda. So the rapper Designer was taking a flight back to Minneapolis from Tokyo, and he exposed and masturbated. He exposed himself and masturbated on the flight.
Dude, they said he was like nonchalantly just like the lady was walking by, he was just nonchalantly jerking her off. Like he wasn't even acting like trying to hide it.
Well, according to him, bro, so the FBI detained and questioned him. He got charged with 1 count of indecent exposure. But he put out a statement and he basically said while in Tokyo, he needed to go to the hospital and they gave him some meds, but it was time for him to go. So he basically took the meds, got on the plane, and then lost his fucking mind.
Yo, what kind of meds make you jerk off on that?
We need to get some of those.
Like, yo, I'll have whatever he's having. Yeah, what kind of meds are you taking? Nah, they gave him the wrong shit. They gave me Viagra. My man got a blue chew on the way to the thing. It's like, oh my!
But it's
God,
funny, man.
bro.
I mean, it's not like I feel bad for him, man, because he said that he talked about the being admitted to the hospital. They gave him the meds. Talked about him being ashamed of his actions, and he was admitting himself into a facility, canceling all of his shows until further notice, and then goes, "Yo, people, like mental health is real.
Yeah,
And if you're not feeling like yourself, get help."
Dude, and he said that he had been suffering from he's like, I just don't know what it is. I've been suffering. And I know he was the one that, I forget what rapper it was that died recently, or one of these guys that passed away recently. And he was like on a video on his social media, like crying, talking about quitting rap or doing whatever because he was so upset about,
About what?
Damn, I can't think of who it was, man. It was one of these rappers that got killed recently.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, but he was going off and saying like how he wasn't handling something. So I wonder if all this stuff sort of is part of it, man. Dude, if you think about how somebody like him, I'm sure he gets the jokes about being the one hit wonder all the time.
Oh yeah,
and
I would
then
imagine
and
so.
then you're performing in Japan. Generally, like as a rapper, that's either you're at the height of your career or it's the only place where you're selling shows.
Right.
But like someone like him, yeah. And if you're seeing friends die around, you're doing all that stuff. And I know he was like, yo, I haven't been okay. I'm not okay. Like, I need to figure this shit out. Like, and again, bro, owning your shit, not like, yo, yeah,
No, he really did.
I was
owned it.
jerking off. Like, it's fucking terrible. I gotta go get like help with it. And sometimes it's a cop out because I have seen scenarios where I feel like when people do the whole like, oh, I'm suffering from mental illness, I feel like that's just the go-to line. But there's something that came out very genuine about how he, I think, spoke about it.
And I think that there is. I think that is a go-to.
Oh, it's my defense 100%. And then
Right.
whenever anything happens, bro, if we ever get called out on this show for some shit that I said, 100% is mental illness.
Like, I found out that when I consume alcohol, I say dumb shit.
Yeah, see, we can stand behind the drunk and the and I got mental illness in my back pocket just in case. I'm gonna be like, listen, if you ever met me, I'm a little off.
Dude, there's another story involving airline flights where this dude in another flight between I think it was Delhi. I don't know if it's New Delhi or Delhi.
New Delhi? Okay, yeah.
In New York, and this dude gets on there drunk and starts and urinates on somebody. And I'm like, what is going on? On them. And I'm like, what is going on with this 15-hour, with these, like, that's a 15-hour flight.
Jeez.
And
yeah,
dude, there's gotta be something to, because I know people that like don't like to fly, or if they get on a plane, like they need to kind of consume some kind of something, whether it's a pill or whether it's a drink or what have you. But man, it's like if you consume this shit, like at least know your limits,
dude. But also I've met people in my personal life on more than one occasion, like a lot, that they're like, oh yeah, whenever they get drunk or whatever, like the running joke for them is like they pee in random corners. Their spouse is cleaning up after them because
these are like VPs and companies.
Yes. I'm like, I've never once thought about peeing in a corner of a bedroom, like while I was drunk or it just goes to show how different this shit just affects people.
Dude, I got a good story that I don't remember, so I'm gonna say allegedly.
I don't remember.
But I've heard
You're
this.
hearing this secondhand from somebody.
I've heard. Yep.
Okay.
My wife. So
you can't believe her, bro.
She
If it's
told,
bad about you,
right?
Yeah.
I think I need to call the bullshit on it. But this is a long. I'm talking about probably like 20 something years ago.
Wink, wink.
And so it was very early on in our marriage. I was in the Marine Corps, and for those of you who have been in the military, in the military we drink like fish.
This is a drinking culture,
right? It really is, man. We used to leave work, and my boss at the time, he would go, hey, let's go down to the enlisted club and have a couple beers, and there would be like 3 of us. A couple beers was like several pitchers of beer, right, between the 3 of us. Mm-hmm. Like that was his going, like, let's go have a couple beers. It was several pitchers between like 3 of us.
Damn.
And so the culture was very much like that. Like when you drink, you drink.
Yeah.
So we had this party one time, and when we drank, and I was young, man. I'm like probably very early 20s, probably 21, 22 years old. Drank too much. And so, as the story goes, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, I go home, and then, like I'm shit-faced. Like I have no recollection of this at all. But she gets me into bed, and then at one point, I get up. No, sorry. I think I'm on the couch. I fall asleep on the couch. She tries to get me up. I'm like, leave me here. At some point, I turn and I throw up. Right? And now I am gone. Right? So I don't even remember this. So remember, everything is allegedly. But it's about me, so I can say this shit. So she cleans this up. Then, I guess, gets me into bed. And then at some point during the night, I get up and go to the bathroom. And I'm in there for a while. And she's like, man, what the fuck's this guy doing? So comes in after me. I guess I tried to pee in the toilet, but wasn't successful and just fucking pissed everywhere.
I've done that sober.
Like on the walls.
So aiming it is harder than it looks.
Quote unquote sober. So she had to clean me up there as well. So shout out to you, baby. That's something that I put you through a long time ago. I apologize, but to my defense, I don't remember.
So you just peed everywhere in the bathroom? You missed?
I just didn't. She was like, the toilet like wasn't even there.
It wasn't even open. That'd be great if the seat was down and everything, and you're just like,
it probably was, bro.
You're like, you see why I leave it up? That's awesome, bro. Dude,
but I have never done that on a plane, so I'm good to go.
I'm trying to like, what happens? Fuck yeah, I don't even. Dude, on a plane, that's got to be wild because you can't go. And on a flight like that, like there's a point of no return, right? Like there's like you're 7 hours over the Atlantic. It's like you're not going back, right? Like you're like
15-hour flight, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Have you been on a flight?
Yeah, long. I've been on like 9-10 hour flights. I haven't done a 15 in a row. I've done like a 9-10 hour flight in a row.
That's long.
I haven't done 15 consecutive. It is long. I like them, but yeah, it's long. Like I enjoy flight times like that.
Really?
Yeah, I think for me it's
give me a bed.
No, for sure. Listen, there's definitely a difference in like the like first class or business class or whatever, where you do get like giant seats and you can recline, you can actually sleep. I sleep like a baby on airplanes. Anyway, but for me, my brain is always on, and I'm always just thinking, doing shit, and checking and whatever. That airplanes for me have become like my safe bubble where I can truly check out. And so I like the longer the flight, the better, because I'm like I can't be reached. I don't buy the Wi-Fi by design, like on my phone. I just go and just it's the most present I feel like I am with myself, if that makes sense. Like, if I want to read a book or watch a show or do whatever, I feel like flights, especially that long, nap, take, sleep, whatever, like catch up on all that stuff. It's like the most present. I feel like, the uncomfortableness aside of like physically, like if you've got a good seat in some of those things, man, for me, like I love them. Like I love long flights like that.
Yeah, it's funny that you said you wanted to check out, man. In the dinner that I had today with that sort of group of IT folks, one of the guys was from a cruise line. And he said that his biggest complaint on a cruise line is not the lack of, but I guess the spottiness or the I'll keep it at that. The spottiness of the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And I remember as he's saying that to me, I'm going like, really, man? Like I don't want the Wi-Fi on the boat. I want to check out. I don't want to look at emails. I don't want to look at anything, but he made a great point. He was just like, no, man, like this Gen Z, they want to take their pictures now and post it on their stories, and they want to, they want to post on social media.
That makes sense, dude. Think about how many viral videos do you know are on a cruise ship, or how many we know so many personalities on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. Yep. I can't think of one that their videos are all from like cruise ships, and there's got to be a market for that, right? Like it's a great way to like. There's nothing about, and it's funny that you say that about the checking out. There's nothing attractive about cruise ships to me, like the idea of it. But lately,
I love it, bro.
I find myself, and so like lately, I find myself going, I think I just need to go on one for a few days because I'm going. I want to check out. I've never done it.
Oh, you've never done it?
I've never done it just because the idea of it to me doesn't sound fun. Like nothing about a cruise ship sounds fun to me. I'm like, I could drink at home or I could drink anywhere, like and drink better booze. Like I don't want to sit there and be tied to whatever booze you're giving me. I don't want to be strapped to a boat for that many days. The idea of only getting to spend 6 hours in a town and then you have to rush back to a boat before it leaves you doesn't sound fun to me. Like when I'm in a city, I like to like visit that city. So nothing about the cruise thing is attractive to me, but I do find myself lately going, I want to do it for like what you were saying. I want to go somewhere where I can't be reached.
No, they got Wi-Fi, bro.
See, but I wouldn't get it. I think if I had to sit there, or maybe I would, but I would go, okay, I would check it like maybe once or twice a day and then leave it. I think it gives me a good excuse to be like, I can't be reached, even for work and all that. Like, listen, I'm going to be on a cruise. I can't be reached. Yeah, right. Like whatever. Like, it's almost like I need to give myself
we'll
the
pay
excuse.
for the Wi-Fi package.
Like, nah, I'm good. They didn't offer it. It was down. You know how Carnival be.
Like,
It's a spring break. These fucking kids broke the Wi-Fi.
oh shit. Yeah, how we doing that time, bro?
Dude, we're hitting an hour right now, like 30 seconds. Man.
All right, bet, man. Do you wanna close off with anything?
Duh, I gotta tell you this story about my son, man. And
come on.
Oh my god, bro, my son is obsessed. I shouldn't say obsessed, but really loves Willy Wonka and the movies, like the old one. Like he'll watch
one with
he'll watch the old one and he'll watch the new one.
What the fuck is that guy's name?
Fuck, I just had his name.
I feel like it's Gene something.
Gene. It is.
Gene,
It is.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. So loves that movie. Gene Wilder. Loves that movie, loves the new one. We'll watch that, and he gives you a whole analytic about like Johnny Depp's versus Gene Wilder's versus and loves the Oompa Loompas and all.
So
this
he's
stuff.
seen both.
So he's seen both. He's seen both, but he really likes the old one. It's really interesting.
It's so bad.
It is, but he's like I don't know what attracts him to it, but whatever. Anyway, but he talks a lot about the Oompa Loompas and then like the differences between the new ones. Anyway, bro, like so recently he like gets home and he's like talking about how he saw an Oompa Loompa in real life, and he's like ecstatic. He's like, I saw an Oompa Loompa, and he's going in and he can't tell a story. And like the further he gets into a story, what you're realizing is that he saw a little person for the first time. And he's innocently, literally thinking it's an Oompa Loompa. My man thought he found the purveyors of chocolate.
Like, if I would have followed him, I probably would have got some chocolate.
He was so adamant that he had found an Oompa Loompa. And I'm like, it sounds like such a cliche, like fucked up joke, but he was so fucking serious. And it was like the innocentness of like not realizing like he just met or he had never. And I'm going like, no, surely you've seen. And I'm like, no, where would you have met a little person before or whatever? Like he'd never seen one. And now that he did, he assumed it was an Oompa Loompa.
Now, in the Johnny Depp version, are they little people as well? They are.
Yeah.
So
Aren't they?
It's in both.
I mean, they're definitely super orange. I think they're little people too. Yeah, I think they're little people in the Johnny Depp one. Yeah. Maybe not as dude, I was crying. Crying because then you're trying to like, oh fuck, I don't want to embarrass him.
So at what point?
What
was the trigger that you said?
I think it's the way he was describing it. He's like, you could tell he was. It was like, obviously there's not an Oompa Loompa, but it's like, nah, it was like the bird, like he was my height, you know what I mean? But it was an adult, you know. It's like, oh shit. That's so good, bro.
You know what's funny, man? Is like,
oh my God,
I haven't seen, like, I don't see many little people.
No, and it's funny, man, because obviously my mind is just like, I see them all the time, but then I'm like, nah, you don't. You like not in person.
I think when I worked at Disney years ago, I did.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
But,
a lot in theme parks. Yep.
Since then, I have not.
No. I think I might.
Like, it's just not many.
I think there's one that I encounter occasionally, but I'm unsure because most of the meetings are virtual. If that makes sense, I'm almost positive.
So
you know how some
making
people
a judgment by their face?
Nah, the sound. Actually, their face too, but then they sound small. If that makes sense. I know that sounds fucked up.
Don't they have? If they're men, don't they have deep voices?
Not this one.
That's dope, bro. Yo, on that, tell them where they can find us.
At the Carbon Football Podcast on IG, the Carbon FP Pod on Twitter, Carbon Football Podcast on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and then all your favorite listening platforms, man. Check us out on Amazon Music, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podchaser, GeoSavin, Pocket Cast, FM or Radio FM, Audible, all of them, man. Go on there, subscribe, listen, leave us a review. Google Podcasts, I think I left out of there. Go on there, leave us a review too, man. We're on all of them. If we're not on something, you need a new app, new phone, new whatever, to get rid of Cricket or Metro, whatever the fuck you got. Get a real phone.
Get rid of them Oompa Loompa phones. Get you a full-grown one.
I'm alive when we start one of these episodes. But this episode's brought to you by Metro PCS. And just like, and listen, I'm a grown ass man. I'm gonna stand by that shit and be like, well, you know, they brought a truck, full of money.
So we have taken down episode 142.
I love their service. I didn't know what I was talking about. I was just talking shit. I was having a Dylan Brooks moment.
Yo, as always, we appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Peace.
Peace.